Okay, I might have made a mistake picking which movies to review first. And the reason I wanted to review all DCEU movies is because Superman is going to be the first film in the rebooted DC universe. I did, of course, want to review the Superman films in preparation as well, but I figured I'd include the DCEU films as well, since I was a bit late on doing a video that was DCEU related back when Aquaman 2 had came out 2 years ago. Oh well, I need to get this video out, then after this make my final thoughts on Superman before I go see it tomorrow night, and then my quadruple review on Christopher Reeve's films, but also Superman Returns. As for the DCEU movies, I'll review them right after I see Superman. But with that out of the way, hello everyone, welcome back to another re-review on the channel, as I have already done a movie review on this, but this is going to be a proper movie review because I don't think that other review I did 4 years ago of the Snyder Cut, I'm not sure I'm happy with that one, mainly because most of the videos I've made from 2020 to 22 are total cringe, and I would say I've kind of improved on my videos from 2023 to now-ish. But yeah, this is going to be my review on the Snyder Cut. So let's not waste any time and get straight to the point because I'm a little stressed out because I need to get these videos out, but also get started on my Fantastic Four costumes for my friends. Because as soon as I see Superman, I'm hopping onto the Marvel hype train, as I'm right now just focusing on DC related stuff with Superman coming out. But once that's out, I'm switching back to Marvel as we have Fantastic Four coming out by the end of the month. So to talk about my quick experience with the Snyder Cut, and I know I did a video talking about my thoughts on the whole release the Snyder Cut trend. Yes, I've heard of it, I've been aware of its existence, just didn't pay too much attention to it. Well, not entirely. I did pay a little bit of attention to it, but I don't know what year specifically I had found out about the whole trend of hashtag release the Snyder Cut, or when exactly I found out that, oh, they're finally going to release the Snyder Cut. So I'm going to assume that August 2020 was when I found out about the Snyder Cut. Specifically, when it'd be coming out, as we got a trailer of it at DC Fandom, which, man, I've missed DC Fandom. It's now been 4 years, and I don't think we had a DC Fandom in 2022, or even 23. I know we didn't have one for 24. So I do hope James Gunn could maybe bring that back some point later in the future. I'd say August 2020 was when I hopped on to the hype train for the Snyder Cut. But just to give you a quick summary of what the Snyder Cut is, in case you're not aware of it, which I would be surprised if you have not at least heard about it. The Snyder Cut is basically a director's cut of Justice League that came out in 2017. A movie that is now absolute dog shit, but at the time, we all liked it for how it was. But as soon as we found out the ugly truth of what happened behind the scenes, yeah, we now despise the hell out of that movie. But yeah, at the time, as a kid, I was finding out that, wait a minute, are you telling me that what I saw in theaters was not the true vision of what Justice League was supposed to be? Specifically from Zack Snyder, as once you watch Justice League, the opening credits will say directed by Zack Snyder, when we all know that is total BS, because it was mainly directed by Joss Whedon, and his name is in, like, executive producer or whatever. But most of all, you could tell it is not directed by Zack Snyder because of his directing style. But that's something I'll say for when I review Justice League later on. Back to topic. I remember getting excited for the Snyder Cut coming out as I saw the teaser and official trailer. Then I made a Superman costume, specifically the black suit, that I find out that, oh, he was supposed to have a black suit in this movie? And I did cover a movie reaction for Zack Snyder's Justice League in 7 parts, actually. There's only 6 parts in the Snyder Cut. The only reason I have a 7th part would be because of the epilogue.
Oh God.
For dark side. Not impressed.
Let's go! Let's get it! Get the hell. Oh my God. Get the hell out of here! What? Let's get it! Oh, you're done, Steppenwolf. You're done. You messed with the wrong dude. Yeah, weird looking hands. Like suitcase flapping. Let's do this! Do this! Let's get it! Alright. You're done, Steppenwolf. You're screwed. Suck on that! Wow! Burn! bitch! Hey. Boom! Holy shit!
Also, apologies for my movie reactions having terrible audio quality. I was recording on my brother's laptop, which I don't think he still has as of right now. Also, my hair looked absolutely terrible by the time this movie was out. Then again, it was during the pandemic and I wasn't able to get a haircut, I think. I don't know. But here's a phrase I would like to bring up that honestly should be important for where we're at in the DCEU, specifically with the Snyder Cut. Don't be sad that it's over, be glad that it happened. The DCEU may have been discontinued, but be glad that the Snyder Cut was finally released. And I know there's also an Ayer cut for Suicide Squad, which I would love to see that, but unfortunately, that's never gonna see the light of day. As of right now, we're pretty much too late for that. But if I had to choose which director's cut I would want to be released, and that would be the Ayer cut or the Snyder Cut, I'm going with the Snyder Cut. Sorry, David Ayer. Zack Snyder's Justice League is so much better than what Joss Whedon did with the movie. Another reason why I despise WB for messing up the DCEU / the Snyderverse is what they did to Zack Snyder with this movie, as he had to leave the project due to a family tragedy, and what WB should have done was let the man grieve and give him time until he was ready to come back and finish the movie. Instead, WB was impatient and hired Joss Whedon and tried to copy Marvel's formula because they were so competitive with the MCU being successful. I also hate how studios always interfere with directors' vision and never let them have creative control. Now, sometimes it ain't always a good thing for directors to have full creative control, but still, they never should have messed with both Zack Snyder and David Ayer's films in the DCEU. I'll admit, I was late to the party with the hype train on hashtag release the Snyder Cut, as one, of course, I had heard about it and was aware of its trend at the time, but never did I thought they would actually release the director's cut to Justice League. But it's so stupid to me that WB doesn't consider this movie canon. Well, screw them, because I ain't considering Justice League canon, as that movie was terrible. As for the Snyder Cut, oh, it's awesome. I could go on doing some comparisons with both films, but I'm gonna get to my positives. I loved Steppenwolf a lot more in this movie. His original design is badass, but also he's a huge threat in this film, as he's definitely one of the better DCEU villains. As you may sympathize with them sometimes, but despite Darkseid having limited screen time, bro was menacing, and it just sucks we won't get to see a continuation of this, unfortunately, because I would have loved to have seen the Justice League go up against Darkseid, because he's the Thanos for the DC universe. As for the Justice League members themselves, they're much better than how they were in the other film, as they get their moment to shine, but the ones that stood out to me were the Flash, Cyborg, and of course Superman himself. The Flash has an awesome sequence where he saves everyone by going back in time once the team loses the battle when the Mother Box is synchronized. I loved that scene, but I also loved Henry Cavill's entrance by the final battle, because my god, I had let out a let's go Supes moment just for Superman, just because that scene was pure badass. As for Cyborg, he's the heart and soul for this movie. He's honestly one of the best parts of the Snyder Cut, and I cannot believe how WB and Joss Whedon had treated this dude on set, along with the rest of the cast. Screw WB and Joss Whedon for what they did to the cast along with Zack Snyder. Ray Fisher was phenomenal in this movie. I loved him as Cyborg, and I loved his story arc he had for this film. He carries the Snyder Cut. Also, one more thing I will say is that I did kind of like Jared Leto's Joker a little bit in this movie, but he's still my least favorite Joker. More thoughts about him once I re-review Suicide Squad, but back to topic. I would have loved to have seen this in theaters. Sure, I can see why WB didn't want to release this movie in theaters because of the 4-hour runtime, but that still doesn't give them an excuse for what they did with this movie in 2017, as this movie was 80% done, but they decided to reshoot most of it and use 30% of the film, while 70% of it was just reshoots. I hope to one day see this in theaters somehow on the big screen, especially in IMAX. So I can understand if the runtime may be an issue, but there's 6 parts and an epilogue in this Snyder Cut, so if you want to, stop at part 2, you can stop at part 2. But as for the 4-hour runtime itself, it kind of goes by quickly once you get invested in the Snyder Cut. Now, I do have some minor nitpicks with this movie, which can be for the unnecessary slow-mo sequences, but I can look past the nitpicks. One small detail I love about this movie is when Superman is resurrected, the runtime is the exact same as his death from Batman vs. Superman, as that was intended from Zack Snyder. Also, I liked how he makes a little cameo earlier in the film. Now, sadly, I do have one negative after rewatching this, as It's been 3 years since I think I rewatched this movie. I probably have seen it 3 times as of right now. Or maybe 4 times. I don't know. I just know that the last time I was rewatching this was back in 2022, so it's been a while. But the one negative I have after rewatching this movie is that I wish that the movie just ended with Clark Kent about to suit up. And I didn't have to see that one scene where we have Lex Luthor teaming up with Deathstroke that would have been a setup for Ben Affleck's Batman movie, along with a nightmare sequence that would be a tease to what Zack Snyder had plans for Justice League Part 2 and 3, since they had like a 5-movie plan for the Snyderverse. And the reason I say that is because at the time this film was released on HBO Max 4 years ago, was when I thought the DCEU would keep on going. Little did we all know that this universe was gonna die out and end in 2 years with Aquaman 2, that wasn't intended but ended up being the final film in the DC Extended Universe, as it would have lasted for 10 years since 2013's Man of Steel. I will say, as much as I was curious to see where this Justice League trilogy was headed, I don't think I was on board about some ideas Zack had, like Lois having a kid with Batman, which would have pissed off Superman. That honestly would have just pissed me off overall, as it's something I don't want to see. For probably a good thing we won't see that, but it's also a sad thing we won't get to see the story have an ending conclusion, especially in the DCEU, now that it's been discontinued as a reboot, was sadly necessary after the mess WB made with this universe. I also hate how this movie ended with a cliffhanger, basically, but it was cool to see Martian Manhunter, which blew my mind away to find out that it was the General in disguise. Like, holy crap, I wasn't expecting Martian Manhunter to show up in this film. Originally, that cameo was supposed to go to Zack Snyder's version of Green Lantern. That would have been Jon Stewart, but sadly that was cut from the film. But hey, at least we'll be seeing him team up with Hal Jordan in DC Studios' Lanterns next year on HBO Max. It's been too long since we had some Green Lantern content, and I've been dying to see Green Lantern back. But I'm happy we have a trilogy with Man of Steel to Batman vs. Superman to Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's not a perfect trilogy, but a solid storyline for the DCEU. As much as I would have loved to have seen the Snyderverse restored, it's time to move on and not dwell on the past, on what could have been. It's never good to be stuck in the past anyways. I will miss the DCEU as I basically grew up on it, but I moved on. Which wasn't easy, I'll admit, but I'm ready to embrace the future with James Gunn's DCU. So I hope WB stays the away from James Gunn's DCU, but I think I should be more worried about the Snyder Cult fans boycotting the DCU. They need to move the on, cause Jesus Christ, I'm almost ashamed to be a Snyder fan cause of them. I like Zack Snyder, but I'm ready to start fresh with the DCU, as I hope it'll be an improvement on the DCEU. Back to my thoughts with the Snyder Cut, I'm happy they released it. It's an awesome superhero movie, and it's one of my most favorites from 2021, as it's actually on my top 10. I'm going to be back and forth with where I rank this at, as I have Man of Steel at number 1, but you know what? I'll have that as my personal favorite, but since I consider Justice League as the DCEU's worst movie, I'll have the Snyder Cut as the DCU's best movie. I may have some nitpicks, but it gets a 10 out of 10 for me. Also, one last thing I'll say, besides the soundtrack being absolutely badass and awesome, I loved seeing Henry Cavill put on the black suit, and I know I criticized about his Superman suit, specifically not having the yellow logo on the back or wearing red trunks, but his black suit is probably the best suit I've seen him wear as Superman for the DCU. Then again, nothing can go wrong with wearing black, as black clothing just looks good on you overall. But with that being said, that is my re-review on Zack Snyder's Justice League, as I'm glad they released the Snyder Cut, because if you were to ask me at the time this trend was happening, I probably would have said that, no way they'll release this. But it's honestly a miracle that they did. It's a much better movie and a huge improvement on Justice League, and this might be the best in the Snyderverse trilogy. But one more positive I will say about the Snyder Cut is that I loved how Zack Snyder paid tribute to his late daughter by the end of this film. Autumn would be proud of you. But be sure to let me know your thoughts, comments down below on the Snyder Cut and where you were at by the time the trend was happening. Next up, I need to get started reviewing my thoughts on the first 4 Christopher Reeves films, and then Superman Returns. Let's have my final thoughts video out before I go see the movie tomorrow, as I pray to God I actually see it and not have a flash situation, if you know what I'm talking about. That is, if you've been following me on the channel for a while. But in case you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll be sure to bring that up in my final thoughts video. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.
We'll join you in the sun, Cal.
The choice of whether to stand proud in front of the human race or not.
You will help them accomplish wonders. hopes and dreams of Krypton live in you now.
I'm so proud of you, son.
Your mother and I loved you.
Your mother and I knew you would change the world.